A couple of months ago, there was an article in Little Village, a magazine in Dublin 15, about the Fingal County Council bylaw, which places big restrictions on dog owners walking their dogs in parks in the Fingal County Council area. The author of that article, Oliver Foley, also wrote about the lack of dog-friendly tourism in Ireland. And now I'm joined on the programme by the author of that article, Oliver Foley. Oliver, welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much, Darren, for having me on.
Okay, Oliver, to start off, to talk about the dog bylaw in Fingal, can you tell our listeners a bit about what you said in that article you wrote in Little Village and your views in general on the matter?
Okay, I'll just give you an idea. First of all, I'm not an actual journalist. I don't write. I don't do anything like that. And that was actually the first article I ever put together because I heard about this bylaw 4.7, and I've had dogs for 10 years. And I thought, no, this is not going to work, and I was infuriated. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do something about this, and I sat down and took about 7 hours to write the article because I'm not a writer, as I say, you know. What I done was I covered bylaw 4.7, I covered dog tourism, and I'll come back to that in a minute. And I got a few figures together, and I tried to explain in the article how it affects me personally, but maybe also how it affects other people.
We'll talk a bit more about the bylaw maybe first. That bylaw by Fingal, the matter is being reviewed, isn't it?
It went for a review already, as far as I know, and but it's going for review again. And Ted Leddy is pushing on it. He's the one person who actually listened to us because he believes that the consultation process was flawed, it was wrong. And the Fingal Dog Group, which we can talk about, they actually got a Freedom of Information request. Which showed that there was no dog attacks, which Fingal County Council said there was in the parks in the last number of years. The bylaw 4.7 doesn't make sense because it means now you can have your dog off the lead in your housing estate, which you couldn't do before, which doesn't make sense because you have cars flying up and down all the time. But in the actual public parks, for example, St. Catherine's Park, that's a place I used to go to frequently. I'd go there once or twice a week. I drive down to Leixlip there, you know. And the problem with Catherine's Park now is that they have this dog pen, which for people with disabilities, you have to climb up a big hill. I mean, if you had to push somebody up there, if you had a dog, or if the person was in a wheelchair and they had a dog, you have to push that wheelchair up, okay, with the dog, and you have to go into this. It's not big enough. It's not fit for purpose. There's a lot of people there that it's too crowded usually. So, but for me, I used to stay out of that, but now it's compulsory. So if I go to St. Catherine's Park, my 2 dogs are 2 Labradors, and they'd swim in the River Liffey, which is very clean, okay? People have this idea that the River Liffey is a dirty river. It's actually not. Once it gets to Dublin, that's when it becomes polluted. But so my 2 dogs would swim in there, but now I can't actually do that. They have to be on a lead at all times. So if I let my dogs off for a swim, I'm actually breaking the law, and if the dog warden comes along, I get a fine. And I think that's very unfair. Am
I right in saying that there are certain times of the day when you are allowed to leave your dog off the lead throughout the park, like?
There are, Darren, but the problem with it is, right, that the problem with the law is that they're different for some parks. So, for example, Portlason is supposed to be 11 till 6. Now, I thought St. Catherine's Park was an hour before dusk, that you could go there only at 10 o'clock at night. But apparently you can't go there at any time to let your dog now off the lead, except unless you use the dog cage or the dog pen, and they're very controversial. The Fingal Dog Group have been campaigning to get rid of those, and so have a lot of animal welfare groups.
I know you were talking to Councillor Ted Leddy from Fingal in Castleknock recently. What would you say to his argument that there are 2 sides to this debate?
Oh yeah, I mean, with any argument there's always 2 sides, Darren, but Councillor Leddy did bring it up, and he said that people mightn't be going to the parks because they have a fear of big dogs. And it's speculation, it's not fact, it's not figures. There was no studies carried out to indicate that. And I'd like to stress as well that the Fingal Dog Group have offered free dog classes, and that they've had dog training sessions by professionals to the dog members. The Fingal Dog Group has 2,000 members now. It's growing rapidly, and it was set up in last October, you know. And so that's what I'd say to Councillor Ted Leddy, that look, he's trying to help us, and I know he's trying to get us to see both sides of the arguments, but the law is very, very restrictive. There was a woman on the Fingal Dog Group called Heidi, and she had a very simple solution, and she said that why not just have one area in parks for dogs on lead and one off lead? I mean, That's a very, very practical, simple solution.
Are you a spokesperson for the Fingal Dog Group?
Absolutely not. No. What I do is basically, Darren, the Fingal Dog Group is involved in animal welfare, dogs' rights, and human rights. That's the way I see it. I came up with the idea of dog tourism because I thought to myself, if we could offer a gift to the government in the line of economics, that they'd probably listen to us more if we had something to offer, you know. So I'm not a spokesperson for Fingal Dog Group. I'm not on the committee, but what I am is a member of the group, and I do try to help out, and we do go on these dog awareness walks. One is happening in Malahide this Sunday. So, I mean, look, I've been involved in the protest over in Swords. When I was involved in the protest in Swords, I was just amazed that I was actually on the street in Ireland campaigning or protesting for the right to walk a dog. I never thought I'd see that day, like, in this country, and I think it's a sad reflection of the government. And look, I think as well that if the government is anti-dog, they're anti-family. That's the way I look at it. A dog is a symbol of family.
Okay, we'll move on to talk about dog-friendly tourism, because I know you wrote a lot about that in that article you wrote recently. It strikes me that you're really onto something good here, talking about dog-friendly tourism. Do you want to just tell our listeners a bit about what you're talking about?
Yeah, so basically when I came across the problem, in Portstown I heard these rumours that there were new dog laws, and then I went researching it, and I seen there was articles that the Fingal Dog Group had in various magazines, and I think the Irish Independent and Northside People was one of them. But then I decided, okay, well, what if we had something to offer the government? Well, what if there was an economic incentive for the government to see things our way? So then I'd done the research, and I was actually really, really surprised to see that American Express done a study in the UK, and it said that 27% of dog owners will take their dogs on holiday from the UK, and they will spend a staggering 227 million. And then I went on in the article to explain that, you know, tourism in the early 90s, before the 90s, tourism was something we really relied on. But now we have a great opportunity with dog tourism, but we're too reliant on the tech industry that we're kind of turning our nose at the humble areas of industry in the country.
Are there any? You mentioned the UK there. Are there other countries in the world who are dog friendly in respect of, say, cafes, hotels, and pubs?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at Switzerland, we'll come back to Switzerland in a second. Switzerland, Poland, you got Germany, Tel Aviv is supposed to be one of the best. But Switzerland, I watched a video on dog tourism in Switzerland, you know, and the thing about it is that they have a great idea, which one member of the dog group advocated, which was a kind of where you'd have a practical, if you wanted a license for a dog, you would have a practical test and you'd have a theory test. And I totally agree with that. It's responsible dog ownership. Owning a dog is very, very responsible. And if you look at Switzerland, so what they have is they had a training. You had to go through this test, basically, a practical and a theory. They've abolished that after 10 years by narrow vote. And I think that was a bad idea. But look, you can bring your dogs on the train, the buses. You can bring them into shopping centres. It's very dog-friendly. They're dog-friendly hotels. You can basically bring a dog almost anywhere in Switzerland.
I understand that a few hotels in Galway are dog-friendly, and there was a cafe in Ardgill Castle in Fingal which closed recently that was dog-friendly. Do you know of that cafe?
I do know that cafe, and the thing about industry is when there are leaders in the industry, like, you know, people that are brave, they go out there, they spend their money, and they invest in restaurants and facilities for this new area of industry. Sometimes it's the people who start off that lose, and then the people who follow on from them have learned all the mistakes, and there's an awareness program. I think, look, the government would have to get behind this. It's well worth their while. It'll bring lots of revenue into the government. But the tourist board in Ireland, which Ted Leddy said he helped me with, they really need to get on board and just, you know, in the area of hotels, B&Bs, you need tax incentives for them to change their B&Bs to make it more dog-friendly, their hotels. But you also need public transport, for example, one carriage in every train, which is dog-friendly. So,
am I right in saying that you're not actually allowed to take a dog on a Dublin bus or train in Ireland, no?
Well, the question is, have you ever seen one, like, apart from a guide dog, you know? Look, I rang up Erin Road Erin, and they said, no, I'm sorry, you can't take a dog on the train, because I wanted to bring a dog. Well, I don't like driving. I have a car, but I don't like driving. So I wanted to bring a dog. into town and we go out to the beach from there, you know. But so I rang Air Road Air and they said, no, sorry, you can't do that. But then another day I was down in Connolly Station and I met one of the train drivers. And I asked him, and he said, well, actually you can. He says, but if it's a big dog, you'd have to bring him in a quiet time. So there's one side saying yes, one side saying no in the same organisation. So there's no clarity on the issue. But as far as I can see, look, I've never seen a dog on a train unless it was a guide dog or a bus.
In some rural areas in Ireland, there is tourism to attract fox hunters and hunters of other blood sports. Are you supportive of that kind of tourism?
Absolutely not. No. See, the thing about it is, look, the way I look at this is, this could solve a lot of Ireland's problems in that area as well. The Fingal Dog Group are totally against all that kind of thing. I'm against it personally myself, and I think I looked into it and I thought to myself, okay, as far as I know, hare coursing, which came up on the Fingal Dog Group at one stage, is worth about 6 million to the rural economy. I think their figures are that low. So look, if the UK can bring in 227 million in 1 year, okay, or sorry, if they spend 227 million, 6 million, you'd have to, with hare coursing and all those things, there's a whole economy, a rural economy built around it, so obviously they'd have to be compensated, but sure, the money will be there, is what I'm advocating. The money will be there to compensate them and to steer them away from that kind of, what's basically a barbaric activity.
I'm surprised that I haven't heard of anyone else apart from yourself advocate strongly for dog-friendly tourism in Ireland. Totally makes sense. I know you said you spoke to Councillor Ted Leddy recently. Are you going to raise this issue with the Minister for Tourism, Shane Ross, and any other ministers or TDs?
Yeah, well, what I was hoping for Darren, was that I was hoping that, first of all, Ted Leddy, I think he's fantastic. I just wrote him a letter. He didn't ask a whole pile of questions. He just came and we just basically met up, and he done an interview fairly straightforward. I contacted Natalie Tracy. Natalie was too busy. I liked Natalie. I met her. She's a Sinn Féin councillor for Dublin 15. I met her on the street one day. I was talking to her. She's a friendly person, and I was hoping to have an interview with her, but it's the week now of the election, so that hasn't happened. Rodrigo Gorman came back to me a long time ago, but I wrote to him there last week. Again, see, I'm in the wrong week for meeting up with all these people. But the thing is, look, what I wanted to do was have, say, somebody from each party, so that there's a balance there, rather than me saying to Ted Leddy, just me and you go for this, or me and you, the dog group, whatever. I was hoping to get a few members of the different parties, because I think, look, if you have a balance going to the tourist board of different parties, I think that'd probably be a better way. You get more everybody's views involved, you know.
Yeah, I understand that you did a video with Ted Leddy on YouTube, isn't it? That's
right, yeah. We've done a video. It's about 130 views now. It's got good feedback, limited feedback on the dog group. And the reason, I think, is because the people who have been advocating this, who have been behind bylaw, reversing bylaw for 4.7 all along, is Sinn Féin. And the Fine Gael came along and the Fianna Fáil, and they both basically went against the dog owner. Now, Ted Leddy has come along, a fair play to him. He's been honest, and he said the consultation process was wrong, it was done wrong, and he's going to get it reviewed. But yeah, so that's, look, we've a long road, I think, you know.
Okay, to come towards the end of the interview, Oliver, can you tell us if you have any recommendations to those who are listening to us today who agree with you on what you're saying about dog-friendly tourism, and what would you recommend they do to help?
Well, I think, look, everybody should have some kind of input. A fantastic resource. The first thing I would say to anybody is to join the Fingal Dog Group. The resource there for government ministers, for councillors, for members of the public is enormous. You've got professionals from all areas of walks of life in the area of animal welfare. Their recommendations are fantastic. So that would be the first place they should stop off, is Fingal Dog Group. The second thing they should do maybe is reach out to their local B&B and their hotels and shopping centres and just ask them questions how they could become maybe more dog friendly. I think one thing we would need is a proper licensing system. Dermot Byrne of the Fingal Dog Group has been advocating that the government should be enforcing the licences and collecting the revenue from them. Obviously, the more revenue you collect, the more facilities you can provide to the dog owner. So, look, the other thing I think as well needs to change is there's so much disinformation about the dog laws itself. You know, we should have an amalgamation or coming together of the dog laws all over Ireland so that they're all the same for the beaches, for the parks, for the streets. When you have different laws in different places, how can you get tourists to obey the law? Because if they're in Dublin and the law is slightly different than when they go to Limerick or they go to Galway or Kerry, it's just not going to work. So you need the laws to be more or less the same in all the different counties.
Do the Fingal dog group have a website, or are they just on Facebook, or what's the story?
I'm not sure about the website. I haven't come across the website. I think they do have a website, but I've never actually went on it because I'm always on the Fingal. I think where they all hang out basically is the Facebook page, which is Fingal Dog Group. You know, and it's very active. There's always stuff going up there every day. For example, I'll try and post this interview that we're doing up, and people will be giving their comments and their feedback. You know, and the thing about it is, when they do give the feedback, everybody's learning from each other constantly, and that's what's great about it. You know, it's a thread basically that starts. Somebody puts up something. I've learned an awful lot. One of the problems as well, Darren, I want to say is that dog owners are now going further afield. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I brought my 2 dogs up to Castleknock. Castleknock is Dublin, Wicklow Mountains. So people are going further and further out now because they can't walk their dogs. And what's happening in the local colleges as well is that there's signs going up now because people are going into the college grounds and they're trying to walk their dogs. So the signs going up now, you can't walk your dog here either. So people are going further out now to Wicklow, to the mountains, and that's going to cause another set of problems with cattle and sheep and, you know, farming, and it's a new set of problems. I just want to say, you know, that I think it'll go on for a long time, and I'm hoping that if there's anybody listening to the program who's good with figures, good with research like myself, I'm fairly good with research, that maybe we can all come together, and I'm hoping the Fingal Dog Group will help me on the tourism side of things, okay, because they started off where it was a bylaw 4.7 issue, and that's the core issue. But I'm hoping maybe that they'll help me with the dog tourism, and we can help each other, you know. And so that's it really.